adjust your screens, you do see Theodore J. Livingston in color right there before your eyes. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, Theodore J. Liftington. I always say Livingston.
Liftington.
I am so sorry. I am so
Right.
sorry.
I forgive you.
I'm not that bright. I know we've never met, sir. I'm not that bright, so just bear with me.
Oh, completely understandable.
Yes, I've said Livingston 1,000 times, and if I say it a couple more, please, you could reach through the camera and just give me a quick little slap, okay?
Sir, it's not a gentlemanly thing to do, for I am the gentleman of the squared circle. I would not just go slapping people willy-nilly and so forth.
Well, I get called a lot of different names. Some are very bad. I won't repeat. Some not that bad. So I can understand if I do call you the wrong name, if you get perturbed, I'll understand. But we're here to have fun. We're not here to make. Yes. Now, I've never met Mr. Liftington. I've got to say that correctly. I've seen him perform. I've seen him outside of the ring. We've said hi real quick, like.
I believe so, yes.
Your character, I love characters. I'm a fan of characters. And you, sir, you bring quite the character to the table of wrestling, my friend. Your presence, your vocals, your in-ring prowess, if you will, it becomes this beautiful package, which many other things make a wrestler. But those three things right there makes you a beautiful package of a wrestler. And I grasped right onto your character from day one. And I thank you for that, my friend.
Oh, of course.
Now, what we do here, and I don't know how, boys and girls, I don't know how far behind the curtain we'll get, but what we do here is we pull it back a little bit, and we talk character, we talk wrestling, I don't know, we talk road stories, we talk what you had for dinner today, we talk many things. Whatever's on your mind, that's what we talk about.
Absolutely. I am an open book. I am a yawning Grimora. I am the simply basking in the codex of the knowledge of Liftington. It is light reading with Liftington, live with Mr. Kincaid on the Kincaid Files. It boggles the mind, I tell you, boggles.
It does, because that's a much better introduction than I ever could do in my lifetime. That's
Please, sir, don't sell yourself short. You don't have much inches left to go.
No, Mr. Liftington.
Yes, sir.
I preside in Connecticut. If I'm not mistaken, we're a distance away. You are in the Rhode Island area. Is that correct, sir?
That is incorrect. My base of operations for the grappling is normally in Rhode Island, but I actually come from the western part of Massachusetts, in the Pioneer Valley.
Oh, I go to Pioneer Valley Pro. I go to Western Mass. I go to Battlefront Pro. I go to other in the Massachusetts area. But Massachusetts is a bigger state than I ever expected, because I could drive 3+ hours to go to a show in Massachusetts from where I live.
Right. Yes. Quite.
Now, I see that you are wrestling. How does one Liftington say wrestling? I'm kind of curious, if you don't mind. Wrestling, grappling, the old exchange of catch as catch can holds, the veritable game of human chess, where we contest wills and souls, while physicality and vitality change the face of the match. It is human drama. It is quite the spectacle. It is theater at its most base. I love you to pieces, Mr. Liftington. I love you to pieces.
Thank you, sir.
I knew. See, I try to envision what to expect from the men and women that I interview. You never can tell what they're going to bring to the table. But you, my friend, you are a gem like none other. And this is exactly what I expected. Now, both men and women, fans, boys and girls, if you will, we love Liftington, the character, the wrestler, the grappler, the catches can catch us. That stuff we love. We're always behind you. Do you like when the fans give you those cheers, give you the adulation? We lift you to the skies because we love Mr. Liftington.
Indeed. The voices of the common folk, those that come, the the ganderers of the grappling, the fandom of the fisticuffs, all of the people, you will, as they come and they support, they lift Liftington, just as I am here to lift their spirits, lift their soaring aspirations. It is I who stands as an example of physical exemplary, and it cannot and can be achieved by nearly anyone. I began not as this physical paragon that you see before you, but was quite a sickly and sallow youth, and I searched and I pored over tomes, and I looked to great masters such as Arthur Saxton and George Hackenschmidt, the Russian Lion, and Hermann Goerner, and those men, and they may not have been the most striking of physique, but they had tremendous bodily power, and that is what I went to capture. And men like George Hackenschmidt, and maybe Earl Caddick, and Frank Gotch, and Karl Gotch, no relation, had such physical power, but still had an acumen for wrestling. And I'm going to marry those two things to bring to the squared circle once again. And it is only my personal dream that I have come close to the ambiance, the aura, if you will, of those men. If I become 1/10 of them, then I, Theodore J. Liftington, have succeeded in my journey.
Hackenschmidt?
George Hackenschmidt, the Russian Lion. Even though he was not actually Russian, he was a German born in Estonia, which is quite confusing, but he was quite a man. In fact, I believe I have a copy of his book. Let me see. As we turn to light reading with Lifton. Yes, George Hackenschmidt's fine volume, The Way to Live, as you see. The Way to Live. This is George Hackenschmidt.
Huh?
Quite the physical fellow, yes. Oh, quite so. This is before the time of performance-enhancing substances. So, truly, it was a monument, a gargantuan task to build such physical bulk in a time when food and certain supplies were in short supply. So those of you, take note, those of you in quarantine, you can do this. You focus, you work hard, you can achieve physical accuracy just as you can.
You know, it's funny you say that, Mr. Liftington, because I'm not sure if you're aware of Mr. Kirby Wackerman. Do you know who Mr. Kirby Wackerman is?
Kirby Wackerman. I believe, no, unfortunately, this name does not ring any bells with me.
Well, with the way you speak, you seem to come back, you seem to be from a latter time, an earlier time, if you a forgotten time, if you will. Could I say that is correct?
Yes, quite so. I mean, officially, Theodore J. Liftington is 139 years old, and I attribute this long life and physical health to the Theodore J. Liftington 12-week system of muscular-masculine might, which will be re-released. It was discontinued back in 1910, and unfortunately we had some problems with the printers. I unfortunately handwrit every single copy of it, which became a tiresome thing when I'm trying to hoist and to grapple and to scour the earth for secrets of forgotten lore pertaining to physical culture. There was a time where I was the 3-time Grizzly Wrestling champion of the Klondike. Yes, way up in the territories, which are now known as Canada. Back then, they were just the territories. They were mining camps where we would bring in these great grizzlies and we would grapple with them. No grizzly was actually hurt, but we certainly did bend them to our will, and then became friends with them, and we used them to pull the sleds so that we could, 3 times. The 4th time, unfortunately, I could not make it up to the territories because of a event down here where I needed to, I believe this. Oh yes, this is where I became the first man to pin a wild buffalo with one hand tied behind my back.
Wow!
Yes, it is a feat unmatched to this day.
Wow, Mr. Liftington, these feats of strength that you talk about, you're kind of messing with my mind here. Those are crazy feats of strength, if you will.
It is, but things like this were once commonplace, and I believe that simply the belief that these things can be possible is the biggest step towards making them possible. There were times where I doubt myself, where doubt and and second guessing would creep into my mind, and I go, perhaps not. Perhaps this is not my destiny. Perhaps I am not meant to represent the strongest. Maybe I'm not here to lift others up. But you must take those feelings, you must take those thoughts, and you must grind them down. Those are the things that you must hold down, while you must lift aloft the feelings, the feelings inside of the nourishment that it gives your body, of the soul searchingness, the enrichment of the spirit that these activities can bring together. There is not a culture on this planet that does not have a certain form of wrestling and or physical culture. And this is a common thing within all of humanity. And I believe that if we were all to understand each other within the realm of the wrestling and the physical culture, we all can become closer as human beings. It is truly a gateway to unification of the human species. I might have gone off on a rail there. I'm so sorry. I get a little bit impassioned when I speak of such of things. I'm sorry.
No, oh God, oh no, please, sir. Ooh, I think that that made my entire day right there, my friend. Wow. Woo, that was a ride. Back, so you are from a forgotten time.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Back to Mr. Kirby Wackerman, because you were speaking of you can do it in quarantine, my friends, because Mr. Kirby Wackerman, I have seen him take a shovel and then put a gallon of milk on one side, put a gallon of milk on another, and really, you know, get some cardio, get some bench work in, if you will, trying to get toned up. I've also, he lifts goats.
Goats, you say?
Yeah, and one on each side. And then I asked him if he has fainting goats. And check this out. If you lift them too high when you're working out and they kind of pass out, if you do it too many times and you get too high, you know, when you push them up, they faint and then they fall down. So if you do use goats while you're in quarantine, I don't know if you have goats. If you do use goats, be very careful. They might faint, pass out, and might hurt you. So just be careful from friend to friend.
This is good advice. I unfortunately do not have goats. I have not lifted goats for some decades now. I used to know a young lady who had owned a dairy farm, and there were many cattle and goats, as you say, for all the milk. And she was also a very strong lady. She is one known for actually goat tossing. She had 4-time unbroken record of being the champion goat tosser of New England, where it was actually not painful for the goats because you would not grab them by the horns, as you would say, but more of like a baling of hay, except that it had hooves, you know, as you see, and you would spin around a great distance and hurl them. And one time we asked her how she got so strong, what weights did she lift, and she goes, "No, I do not lift weights. I raise cattle."
Yeah. Now, do the goats?
It was a joke. Aha! Did you not know?
I do. I got that, but I need to digress. Do the goats land on their feet like cats?
No, but they are exceptional tumblers. They would get a good roll and then stop with the hooves.
No, I did get the joke, but I was really wondering if they landed on their feet because I was trying to envision them getting tossed by a quite burly woman and then, you know, have them just like and then run away. But you're saying they hit the ground.
They tumble and stop forward, which is where we get the term hoofing it. It is how they take off running after being thrown. We would say they were hoofing it, and that is where we get the term. See, we get physical culture and entomology all in one package. Theodore Liftington, strongest man in the whole wide room. Thank you very much.
Holy cow, Mr. Liftington, you are bringing tears to my eyes, my friend. Holy cow. Whew, what a day this has been. I might have not had enough sleep either because I've been very busy with these interviews, but nonetheless.
The health is plenty of sleep, sir. You must at least get 8 hours. Yes. Oh no, I understand it is difficult in these times to get 8 hours of consecutive sleep. But there are some things you could, like taking perhaps a cold shower beforehand, and
Okay.
a very vigorous rub down with a coarse towel will definitely settle the body for good sleeping.
Oh, now that I can get behind, a good rub down with hot towels. I can
Oh
definitely
no, no,
get
no, no,
behind
not
that.
hot towel, a coarse towel, very rough, so it exfoliates the skin and brings the blood to the surface.
Nah, man. No, me and you are on two totally different
Well,
wavelengths,
it's
Mike.
understandable. Not every practice is comfortable, but discomfort is a trainable skill, much like strength, which is why anybody can obtain it.
Oh my God. Ah, I can't breathe. I love you to death. Holy cow.
Perhaps you do need some cardiovascular work then, sir.
I do. I don't know if you're aware. I think you're familiar with one Mr. Ronnie Ribs, SOG.
Ah, yes, Mr. Ribs. Ah, we are quite acquainted. Yes, I do enjoy his company from time to time.
Ooh, you enjoy it. Well, I can't say that because now I do enjoy his company. I didn't so much before. Angry man. I gotta say, angry man, and at most times. But I had him on the show. What a delight! I drank moonshine, homemade apple pie moonshine with
Oh my.
Mister. Oh my goodness, and Mister Liftington.
Mm,
I'm only about 35 pounds, as he says, and I'm not a drinker. So
yes.
I will tell you, I was drunk as a skunk off of some moonshine,
Oh, I
hanging out with
guarantee it.
SOG. I have a totally different respect for one Mr. Ronnie Ribs now.
Yes, I would not consider him so much angry as just very stuck to his beliefs, very close to it, keeping it very simple to it. The things that he knows are the things that he knows, and that is that, and so on and so forth.
And
But no,
yes,
I've had countless good interactions with Mr. Ribs. I unfortunately would have not have joined you two because I am a teetotaler. Yes, unfortunately, I do not ingest alcohol, for it does upset the circulatory system and several of the digestive processes, and will affect the presenting of strength, from which I do. So, but please, I do not hold it against anyone who enjoys the consumption of alcohol. Please, moderation is the key.
yeah, again, I'm not a drinker. That's been sitting on my dresser for months and months and months.
Oh my.
I yeah, I'm just not a drinker. So when I broke it open and
Hmm.
I started sipping it, uh, I was pretty tanked up. So with that
Quite
said,
so.
right after Mr. Ronnie Ribs, I had, because we celebrated Zebra Week, where we bring in referees, and we had a fantastic week.
Oh,
Yes,
referees! Oh my dear,
yeah,
I thought you meant actual zebras. I
no,
have
no,
not,
no.
I have not ridden a zebra in several decades. Back when I was on safari in the yes, oh yes, around on the Serengeti, where we would bareback ride zebras into the river valleys, and it was quite expressive. Unfortunately, I got it wrong the first time because I put the zebra on my back and I ran with him, and he told me it was supposed to be the other way around. I was so embarrassed.
Well, you're used to lifting things.
Quite.
lifting,
Did you know?
lifting things.
Actually, interesting fact: the Pony Express was founded by one such Theodore J. Liftington.
What, because you lifted the pony and ran with the pony?
Exactly. I eventually it was originally started as one to deliver ponies to people with fast speeds. And then they said, no, what if we had people ride the horses and deliver other things that are lighter? And we're like, genius, we should totally do that. Because I also was the only one who could run across the country with horses on my back. And, I mean, if I'm the only one that could do that, it does kind of bring down productivity.
Now, you remind me, when I very first saw you, you reminded me of a guy we see in a circus, like the big strong man. You
Oh,
have
yes.
the thing, you wear the
Yes,
thing
the
and
leopard print leotard. Yes, quite the garment of the sideshow strongmen, the circus strongmen. Oh yes, or the vaudevillian theater plays of physical culture. Oh yes, yes. It is a tradition that I try to keep upheld, since it's very. It's not practiced nearly as much as it used to be. It was akin to what pro wrestling is now, is that there would be grand posters and grandstanding and boasting. by the participants, and then people would get dressed up in their finest, in their coat and tails, in their fine garments, and they'd go to the theater to witness these events of physical prowess and strength, and there was actually quite a bit of gambling involved as well.
Now, you speak of, now I'm going to kind of revert to those times because I've read me a little history about wrestling or grappling, if you will.
Of course.
Back in those times, when there was one guy and another guy, it was man versus man. There was no big production, if you will. There was a ring, there was two guys, but my word, the people would come from far and near. It was something more of a gathering. It was a gathering, but it was like a big special event every single time that wrestling would come around, because it was so far in between events that people could gather and go to these events. But when I say people would gather, thousands and thousands and thousands of people would all come together to see a wrestling event. And sometimes I've even read that there was only a match that would last like an hour, and people would be riveted to these events. Am I correct on saying this, or am I wrong here?
Oh, quite so. Because back then, most wrestling contests went 2 out of 3 falls as a rule. The one fall to a win is a relatively new concept. So most of them were 2 out of 3 falls, and these were legitimate grappling athletes where they would go for a pin or a submission. And these were tough men. These were men made of iron and gristle. I mean, so to have someone in a hold, to give up would be quite a burden that their shame probably could not hold. So holds would last for like half an hour or more at a time. In fact, there was a match I do remember. It was a man, I'm trying to remember his name. He was referred to as the Solid Man. He was a New York police officer. William Muldoon, that was his name. William Muldoon, the Solid Man. And he was in a match against a man known as the Kansas City Demon, Clarence Whistler. Okay. And Clarence Whistler was a prototype of what we now know as a heel. Mm-hmm. For he was known to do some rather dastardly tactics during a match that were quite underhanded, because lots of money were riding on these matches, and the referee was normally a police officer or somebody of high repute, or a politician, so that they could be trusted to make the right call. So underhanded tactics were much, much sneakier than they are these days, especially without cameras or anything. But one Mr. Clarence Whistler would do a thing where he would soak his hair in ammonia. And he would do is he would take the arms of a man and stretch them behind his back with his head in between his shoulder blades, and he would gouge his muscles like this with ammonia in his hair and raise these huge welts, these sores on his body. It was truly, truly, truly like underhanded. He was also known for not clipping his fingernails. So when he would get a grip, oh yes, he would dig his fingernails into the body. So imagine having these clawed hands dig into your flesh while this ammonia-soaked cranium would just bash and grind into all your soft flesh. It was truly, truly a torturous spectacle. And yet, it went to a draw. It went to a draw. He could not defeat the Solid Man. It was truly a spectacle to witness.
Now that makes the crowd want to see more and come back the next time.
It does. It does. I am unsure whether or not, I am unsure the results of the rematch or whether there was a rematch. The time had gotten rather tumultuous, so I'm not sure if they were able to meet again. But that match truly was spoken of for generations to come.
Wow. I'm going to have to look that up, because now I'm very intrigued.
Quite so.
Mr. Liftington.
Yes.
I do see you wrestle at Rhode Island most times than not. That's where I see you. Is the Chop Shop your home base, if you will?
Yes, I believe. Yes, I have wrestled for many of the promotions at the Chop Shop. I do frequent it quite often. I'm very familiar with all the rogues gallery, if you will. Yes, but no. Everyone there is good people. I enjoy. The belt attacked you.
That's okay.
That's all right.
That's okay.
I have an axe. I know you.
No.
All right.
We don't.
No. All right.
No.
But yes, the chop shop is certainly where I do the grappling most, and the audience there, the fans are quite receptive to my work there for RWA, MAW. Watch this fight. I really do enjoy watch this fight. I have the very first one we did for one young Lorenzo, who shares a birthday with me, and he has recently become cancer free. So it is a joyous thing. Yes, little Lorenzo, cancer free. I am so proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the chop shop. Also one Providence Wrestle Party that they do at the Black Box in Providence is also a grand time. Truly a spectacle of wrestling. Very much in the vaudevillian style, where it is much more of a show and a spectacle rather than an athletic contest. But I, one Mr. Liftington, am also known for my theater prowess as well as my athletic acumen.
Now, you've mentioned some amazing companies that I love to go see. I've seen a bunch out there. Wrestle Party. I'm going to pick out just for a second.
Sure.
Very, 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 have to express that, very character driven, if you will, at Wrestle Party. I want to, I've had Nick, I'm mixing up people now. I've had the Suplex Sweetheart, Isana, on here.
Yes.
And she spoke of when she was there. I love Isana. She spoke of when she was at Wrestle Party at one occasion that she was dressed up as a black cat. And
that was her?
Yeah. Oh.
I had no idea. I actually believed we had a legitimate panther in the ring.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Banger, you have pulled the wool over my eyes once again. He's a crafty man.
Spoiler alert. I apologize.
Pay it no mind. It was a jolly good show.
Yeah. My point being is, then you have like a guy like Buff Dad kind of dangling some catnip to maybe distract her a little bit. You boys and girls at the Wrestle Party seem to really put a different spin on everything, wrestling, if you will. Could you talk to us just a little bit more, because of the fans? If you don't know, get on the intertubes and check them out. Wrestle Party. Mr. Liftington, could you talk to us about Wrestle Party and how different it is comparing to other promotions?
Well, you are right that it is very character driven. Because what I believe we are trying to do is bring wrestling to folks who are not used to wrestling, to try and bring people into wrestling who may have been pushed away by some of the other traits that pro wrestling has. Maybe they found them uncomfortable or just not their taste, simply not their type of ice cream, if you will. Mm-hmm. And we are trying to bring simply a different flavor of wrestling to people, of a show, of a spectacle. We try to bring folks who enjoy a good time and a good show, and to be entertained and to simply be. It is one of the places that is almost nearly all encompassing when it comes to people of all ways, of all paths, of all kinds. We bring them together, and we enjoy this is the unification of humanity that I was talking about, where we all come together in a single cause, in a single practice, and we enjoy each other's company, and we put on a good show, and we have a good time, and everyone is happy, and no one is excluded, no one is felt unworthy. It is truly a place that shines, that because of all of its parts. It is not one part in particular that brings the crowd. It is everything. It is the gestalt, if you will, the smorgasbord of grappling sights and sounds.
I like that.
And I truly enjoy my time there and everyone there. It is one of the finest times that I have in professional wrestling, and I would love to see it continue for as long as possible, and to have as many people come of all types, of all ways, of all stripes, to come there and enjoy what we do and how we do it, and feel comfortable in the atmosphere that we create.
Uh, I've been smiling since you've been talking about Wrestle Party because your passion for wrestling in general
Mm,
is some of like none other that I've ever seen. But the way you speak of Wrestle Party, it's exactly what it is. The door is open for anybody. And
absolutely everyone.
the number one, I mean, obviously safety. You got to have safety. But I'm telling you, besides that, number one rule, have fun, be yourself.
Yes, quite so.
I
What is the
love
point
that
of all of
about
this if we are not enjoying it?
I love that about Wrestle Party. There's no limitations. There's no limitations, let me tell
None
you.
whatsoever. None at all. They've had fantasy creatures grappling in front of you. They've had space aliens come from space Europe. I didn't even know there was a space Europe. Now I have to travel all over space Europe as well as Earth Europe. I have to book tickets for a spaceship. There were pirates. In fact, I was involved with a match where we saved this sideshow that came to perform for us from pirates. There were pirates from Fall River. I didn't know there were pirates in Fall River, but there were pirates in Fall River, and they came, and me and these two young men, Midas Black and Lion, the main event, we became a circus pile, and we defeated the pirates and saved the sideshow. It was tremendous.
I love Midas Black and Jet. I love Lion and Jet. Oh my God. I
Yes, the
love
main
those
event
guys.
was truly. I haven't worked with them since then. I really would like to see them again.
Oh, I, now that, man, I can't believe I would miss good times like that. Yourself and the main event teaming up, that sounds amazing. I
Oh,
would
quite
love it.
so. Truly a experience to withhold.
Now, I see. Now, main event, they're making some waves in some bigger companies.
I have seen that. They're doing quite well.
Yeah, I love seeing that of the men and women that start up and then really start to kind of elevate a little bit in their career and then elevate a little bit more and then a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, with that said, I see you a lot in the independent scene. Is Liftington looking to maybe expand to get on a different plateau, a different platform, if you will, or is he comfortable in doing the independent wrestling scene because some are comfortable, some aren't?
Well, I certainly do enjoy the independent scene. I don't. I have put out some feelers to other places. There have been things I've been looking at. Some of the plans, unfortunately, have been put aside due to the events of the current time. But I'm certainly trying to expand my reach, the liftingtainment to occur all over the United States as far as I can. I've looked at places such as Pennsylvania, as Ohio, and even so far as Oregon or Texas. But only time will tell, because of the events now and just the climate as it is very hard for ones such as us to travel and really make a living in this business at this period in time. But I don't believe that should restrict us in any way. Like what you're doing with this Stirring the Pot show and others, making the content for the interwebs, intertubes, what is it?
Intertube, yeah, intertubes.
Okay, yes. Continue making content for people to witness, to keep fresh in the minds. It may come to a point where wrestling may not be as traditional as it once was, and we may have to experience new forms of new platforms to represent it on, new ways to present it to the fans, to the audience. It's not going to be easy, and it's certainly unprecedented. But I make this akin to something like when television was first introduced, and the promoters and the pioneers that started putting wrestling upon television, and how difficult that had to been, as opposed to just coming to see it live. So, and then from television to closed circuit television to pay-per-view to the intertube webs, yes, to everywhere. Because now wrestling can be seen by anyone, anywhere, at any time. Almost any wrestling. There's no more restrictions to where you live or what your local stations will put on. You can simply type in something on your communication devices and bring it up and watch wrestling from all over the world, from almost any time period. And it's unprecedented that we live in a time where all wrestling exists technically at one time, where you know, the old times and the new times and from other countries and from other states can all exist on one platform at the same time, and fans can take in all of it at once. And it's something that hasn't happened in our business, and we are coming to a point where that may be maybe the best way to have wrestling in your life. But we shall see. We'll see where all of this goes. But I believe that there's a change coming, and that we as performers and as wrestlers are going to have to change with it. And I think we can benefit from it as much as we are being hurt by it.
Now, the way you've just said all of that, we have seen what the bigger companies are doing, being the WWE, being AEW, and such. We're seeing the empty arena stuff, right?
Right.
Now, that's trickled down, not only trickled down a little bit, but all the way down to very small promotions across the country. And I'm not going to say that they're a small one, because in the United States, in general, Limitless is one of those companies that's got a big name for themselves right now.
Quite so.
They did some quarantine or epidemic or some kind of...
That's right. Yes, I had seen those.
So, like you're saying, we may see a new wrestling. I don't know, sir. I hope that's not the case, because I love the interaction, and I know you guys want the fans there, and we want to be there too. But besides the whole performance end of it, making the relationships, the friendships that go out of the ring or behind the curtain, those are the things that I'm going to miss, I think, even more. So, yeah, we're going to see wrestling. But that whole no friendship and stuff like that and doing it from a distance, that's really going to stink for me, because I'm kind of a people person a little bit, especially when it's in wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I completely understand. It may, I'm not suggesting that it won't be that way at all. It's just going to be more of a novelty rather than the norm. As you know.
Well, that is becoming kind of the norm, because my point being, as it's trickled down to the smaller places, we're seeing that happen. It might not be a full event. It could be, I'll use Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling for an example.
Yes.
They filmed a match last week, and then this week they released the footage, and we got to see Bull Dread defend his IC championship against Big Jim Anderson in a no DQ match.
Oh, I haven't seen Mr. Anderson in some time. I do remember that fellow. Quite large arms, very in the tricep and bicep area. Oh, he was quite broad across the chest. Yes, so, but a little bit grumpy, a little bit perturbed at his surroundings.
Yes, always grumpy, bigger than ever, meaner than ever. I'll tell you that.
Quite so.
So my having that match, that's becoming kind of the new norm right now, where we're going to see these things trickle out. And it's going to start catching on little by little by little. And more, I think, like we were talking, it's going to start coming out a little bit more, because we're going to miss it so much. People are going to want to get into the ring and figure out how to do it. And if you can do a match here or a couple matches there and do it safely with this distancing thing, that's what's going to be happening. Because until there is something different to give us as an option, and how the hell, I don't mean to curse, how the hell are we going to present a wrestling show with all of the people and all what it takes to present the show and what it takes to have the fans come in there? I don't know where wrestling is going to go from here, sir.
It's true. These are unsure and tumultuous times, but I have faith in wrestling and in the people that do wrestling and in the people that love wrestling. It is a physical art form that has lasted millennia on this planet. Like I've said, every culture of humanity on this planet has a form of wrestling, and it has existed and is perpetuated and has been kept. The traditions have been kept sacred by those who love it. And I still believe that will happen in our business as well as any other form of wrestling. So change is painful and difficult, but it does not mean we are losing what we love. And I think that's important for folks to believe.
That's very well put. 139 years old. I think I have to take that advice and really run with that because, yeah, we miss it in one way that we're used to, but let that change happen. And whatever it comes to, let's not miss the love and the passion for wrestling because I know we all love it so much, you know?
Quite so.
Now, there's a lot of characters, as I say, as I was saying at the wrestle party, but the Chop Shop, I want to get back at the Chop Shop because there's some fantastic promotions. There's some fantastic men and women and crazy characters at the Chop Shop.
Quite so.
I could go on and on and on with a list of names.
Yes.
I'm going to sprinkle a couple in, and I'd like to get some reaction from you if I could.
Certainly, fire away.
First off, because I see an association, maybe or not, one Mr. Insane Dick Lane.
Yes, Mr. Lane. Yes, there is plans for myself and Mr. Lane to perhaps be going out an excursion, if you will. Those of us, I believe you've seen what do they refer to it as a flashbang? No, hash brown?
Hash.
No, hash. What is it? You put the pound symbol next to a word.
Hashtag.
Yes, there's a hashtag RPG. Keep your eyes out for RPG. Yes, stands for really polite gentlemen.
Oh.
What? Oh, no. Oh, sorry. It stands for really powerful gentlemen. Sorry, really powerful guys. I'm sorry. I always believed it was really polite gentlemen because Dick Lane, I know he comes off as something of a supervillain, but really, a polite gentleman will let you sleep on his sofa and enjoy his. Are you aware of his herbal remedies?
Oh yes, I am.
Oh yes. He is quite the herbalist, quite the apothecary, if you will, with the science and the Bunsen burners and the elixirs and the schematics. Oh yes, quite so. I have spent evenings at the laboratory and I've certainly there's some mutations that may have occurred, but we won't talk about that.
No, let's not, sir. Mutations indeed. I get that.
Quite so.
Oh man, the fumes, if you will, must be horrendous when you first walk into Mr. Lane's.
Now. I would not say horrendous. No.
Oh, enjoyous?
I have a hard time remembering now that I think about it.
I'd like to move on. The suplex sweetheart, Isana.
Isana, yes. If there ever was a woman that could have my heart and throw it across the room, it would be Isana. I have been an opponent and I have been a partner of hers on several wrestling events. And no one I enjoy more in the locker room, in the ring, out of the locker room, in the kitchen, in the swimming pool, in the backyard, and at the shopping centers, in the gymnasium. She is quite the hoister herself. I don't know if you know this, but she has been putting in some serious hours in the gymnasium. Quite so. The numbers are starting to rise, and we're all very impressed by her strength. I
adore Isana. She is, like her moniker says, she is a sweetheart. I love her to pieces.
Absolutely.
Don't get her mad.
Although I have witnessed times where folks have gotten on her bad side, and it's almost like the suplex savage rather than the suplex sweetheart. Oh my!
And that's what I was going to punctuate it with. Don't get her mad. You don't want that. No. Now, I have to go to somebody specific because if I don't, he's going to come and verbally attack me. He's got a little bit of an attitude. Very, very young mind in the game right now, if you will. He's only 15 years old. But boy, he's got a little sense of wrestling about him. He's I don't want to call him a great kid because I don't know him too well. He kind of gets angry at me. I've had him on the show. Coach C, he loves Mr. Liftington.
Ah, yes, the coach. Quite so. He certainly has a mind for the business. I have to say this. I don't believe I have faced anyone under his tutelage, though. I'm trying to think. I am familiar with his father, and familiar with his work other places, but I don't believe that we've actually ever crossed paths, so to speak. So I'm trying to remember, and unfortunately none comes to mind. But yes, I'm actually quite a fan of his artwork, as his artwork decorates all of the walls of the chop shop.
Oh,
So have you not noticed?
well, yeah, I did. We might have
Have you
talked
not
about it.
noticed his artwork?
Well,
Mr. Coach C, if you are listening, he has not noticed your artwork. You're going to have to send him some. Send him large stacks of all the copies of the art of which you have done in a large box for Mr. Kincaid. Sorry, Mr. Kincaid. Ah, I had a tongue twist there. Mr. Kincaid, big art box of art from one Mr. Coach C. Please do.
Don't make him yell at me any more than he does.
I'm not the one that didn't notice his artwork.
I might have said that he loves Mr. Liftington. I don't know what he loves or doesn't love. I might have talked out of context there. I think he's a fan of yours because when I announced that you were coming on, he was like, hoist. And he really loves. See, I said it again. I don't know if he loves you or not, but would you ever consider being part of his alumni?
I may have to put some thought into that. I'm uncertain. I am unaware what exactly his goals are, so I do not know if our goals are parallel. Ooh. But I would keep it under consideration. Mr. Coach C, I would keep it under consideration. There will be much thought poured upon it and doused and marinated, for which we will congeal into something resembling a plan, probably, perhaps.
Another young mind in the business at the chop shop. The kid grew up in the business, period. Lived wrestling. AJ Phoenix.
Ah, yes. Also another one that I have not crossed paths with, which is to say unfortunate. Yes, I think that an elderly statesman of the wrestling game like myself could bestow certain things upon a young mind as talented as one Mr. AJP. I have crossed paths with his father, Mr. T. Phoenix. Yes, quite the man, with a man of many appetites and a man of many strikes to the face. Yes. I do not believe he struck me. Maybe he has struck me in the face. It's hard to remember. I have taken so many strikes to the face that I cannot remember upon whose arm which fist shall be. But yes, Mr. T. Phoenix, a man that I have enjoyed crossing paths with, and I would certainly enjoy crossing paths with one Mr. AJP. I believe he does not break the 200-pound limit, so he shall go far as I yeet him over the ropes.
Now, I've been mentioning, I could do this all night with you, mentioning names, and this is amazing. But I want to get back to Mr. Liftington, if you will. This character, obviously, we'll see, maybe this is my question. Where are we with this? Is this really like when wrestling is done and over with, you go home? Is this the way you are? Is this Mr. Liftington all the time? And then because some people, that's how they live their life, is what they bring to the table at wrestling is what you get when you're at the house. Is that the same thing with Mr. Liftington, if you will?
To a degree, I certainly do turn up the volume, as one would say, when I am before an audience or in the ring. But there are very few things that are dissimilar between Mr. Liftington and myself, if you would ever separate the two, as it were. So we both have common interests. We both have similar styles of living. We enjoy grooming our facial topiary, as you see.
I see that. I see that. Very, very beautiful. Well done, might I say.
Right. So, yeah. In fact, it has grown in a lot over since this quarantine, because there are no unruly gentlemen trying to whip it out of my face every weekend.
I'll get to that in a quick second. Why 139 years old? Very curious on that number.
Well, I mean, I was born in October of 1880. That was 139 years ago.
Okay. I was just curious. Now, the beard, that has to be utilized as a weapon. And I'm going to say every single match that you're in.
I would not say it's a weapon, but it is certainly
utilized against you, I should say. I'm sorry.
Oh, against me. It has come to pass that certain people have tried to take advantage of it, but every single person who has tried to take advantage of my facial topiary has paid the price. For not only am I the strongest man in the world, or not in the world, in just this room, perhaps, but the beard possesses the strength that I do. It is not separate from me. The strength flows through the follicles just as it flows through the circulatory system of Liftington. And those that abuse it have been abused in return.
I could see that. Okay, I could definitely see that. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about this. Not sure. This could be a weird line that I'm drawing here, but I don't know if I should or not, because I love characters in wrestling. We love the evolution of character, if you will. Do you kind of see where I'm going with this, sir? The evolution of a character? Do you see maybe where I'm kind of going? What was before?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
There was a thing. There was maybe a thing, if you will. Yeah. Before there was a Liftington. Before there was a Liftington, I used to see a gentleman very close to your look, if you will, and possibly your physique. That wasn't
Josh
Liftington.
Briggs?
No. No.
Okay. I know we've been confused for one another every now and then. He is much taller and much more handsome than I am, though.
I'm a huge Josh Briggs fan, so that kind of tickled me a little bit. No, I'm speaking now. I don't know if I'm supposed to speak as such of a person, but I should have asked before. I've seen this guy. His name was Judge at one time, and now there was a thing. Again, I don't mean to set you back. There was a thing. A guy. He looked very, very, very close to the way you look. Your physique. The beard was a little shorter, though. Sometimes, I was just curious. Do you know of this Judge character at all?
Yes, I'm aware of his existence, but I haven't seen him for some time, and I think it's best that way.
Okay. Hey. I gotta ask, just because I'm curious of these things. So I'll just sweep that to the side.
Yes. Just keep him in the dark where he belongs.
Okay. Hey. This thing you got going on, 139-year run. Seems you've been in the game for a bit at 139 years old.
Quite so.
The character Liftington, does this continue through maybe your grappling career, or do you maybe see in the future, because some men and women, they have a little change, maybe at X time or whatever, their character, they evolve at certain times of their life. Do you see an evolution of this character of Liftington, or do you see it just kind of riding out into the sunset?
I can see. Sorry, there was a fly.
You're quick.
I do see Liftington being around for quite some time. I can also see variations of Liftington. For Liftington has been along the length and breadth of this great world, searching for physical culture and grappling ways, and has found many. So there is perhaps ways that we could incorporate those many different cultures and styles of grappling into future things with Mr. Liftington. Perhaps like such as Sambo, or as the Kushti wrestlers of India, or the sumo, or the judo from Japan, or perhaps the Svingen from Finland. Yes, the belt wrestling, the Glima of Iceland, the Lucha Canaria of the Canary Islands right off the coast of Spain. All wrestling styles, yes. Let's just see. There's the Scottish backhold wrestling. There was the jacketed wrestling of the French upon Normandy. The Mongolians have tremendous grapplers. That's all that's coming to mind at the moment.
I think that's plenty. Holy cow, I didn't know there were so many different styles.
Oh, quite so. The length and breadth, actually, funny thing, the Greco-Roman style of wrestling was actually founded in France, because the French, yes, it was believed that they were representing the old Greek and Roman ways of grappling, but they were not certain. So they put together these techniques in the gymnasiums of France and called it Greco-Roman wrestling. But it was only popular there because there was no groundwork. It was simply lots of throwing and takedowns, and nothing so much of the groundwork as say the folk styles or the amateur collegiate style that we have, or the catch-as-catch-can style, or the Lancashire catch-as-catch-can of the snake pit in England. So they believed groundwork was a lower practice, like of low men, not of gentlemen, would be of a more takedown stand-up style, and that's where they believed they were representing the classical period, the Hellenistic period, and they called it Greco-Roman.
Wow, what a lesson we just got, boys and girls. Not only on that, but I think right from the very beginning, we learned so many different things about wrestling. Never mind about Mr. Lifting. I got to make sure Liftington. That we don't get this kind of stuff when we see you, boys and girls, men and women, I should say, at the events. When you come out the ring, we may say hi. We may do some pictures, may do some autographs and stuff. But we never get to talk like this. So, Mr. Liftington, you have been an absolute gem, and I can't stress that enough. You have been absolutely the best today, and I really appreciate your time to open up a little bit and speak with us, the fans.
Absolutely. It was a joy. I was unfamiliar with the technology of doing this, but I did have some grand help from the young lady who shares my abode. It's quite the acumen, the mind for these things. I'm very much a Luddite, and I rock and stick, and I would have sent it by pigeon if I knew any different. But now that I figured this out, I was very happy to do this. I am here to share the knowledge and the love of wrestling that I have, of physical culture, that everyone should lift their spirits as much as they can to hoist themselves to a higher existence and just enjoy it.
Theodore
J. Liftington, who's the man who can lift a ton? Liftington, that's who. Ha
ha. One more quick question. Are you dressed from the bottom down?
Sir, how dare you ask of my abode? What if I was in the nude, if you will, perhaps, as in my nature suit, if you will? How dare you ask of this? Come on now. One does not ask of another's unmentionables, especially over a phone call.
But I was very curious. I'm curious of that.
You're curious of my unmentionables?
I was
Sir,
on
you at least
Kincaid.
would have taken me out to dinner and treated me like a gentleman before doing such things. This is unheard of.
Woo. Man, what a ride we had today with Mr. Liftington. This was absolutely amazing. Totally made my entire day. Oh my goodness. This has been a great sit down. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, Theodore J. Liftington. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time.
Quite so. Thank you very much.